Tony said you still got a minute.
Oh, do it?
It's past time, let's go. We're a minute late. Yeah.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order and ask Mr. Snooki to lead us in prayer. If that's all right.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank thee for another wonderful day. Lord, bless this group of people as we're here tonight to do their business for our county, to work the most equal and fair for every individual in our county. Lord, bless our troops that are fighting for our rights, our way of freedom. Lord, please help settle the mess that's going on in Ukraine. They need a lot of help. In thy name we pray. Amen.
And I believe, are we all here? We were all present. And, first item would be approval of the minutes from the January 25th meeting.
Approved. Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to new business, our solid waste funds.
Centers will be closed February 21st, which was yesterday, for President's Day, open today or tomorrow for regular hours. The new compactors at Unionville are working out fine and saving us several trips to the landfill because the compactors are able to take the furniture. All of the centers are operational with their new equipment. On May the 8th, the mayor of Rutherford County, his assistant, and the new solid waste director met with our mayor, Mark, and myself to tour the El Bethel Convenience Center. They are spending $4 million to upgrade 2 centers and build 2 more centers in Rutherford County. They were so impressed by the way that our centers were laid out and the new compactors taking furniture that they are mirroring our center. They ordered 4 new compactors like ours the next morning. Another thing they liked was the automatic trucks that we run, and that our drivers have routes instead of being dispatched daily, which saves time and effort. We're very proud of the comments that they made concerning our solid waste operation, and we want to thank you for investing the money to make these changes and improving our solid waste program. So thank you very much. Annual progress reports have started coming in. They're kind of slow, but we are updating that information daily. And you will see some new faces at some of the centers. One attended at El Bethel, had knee surgery, and she will be out for 6 to 8 weeks. And we have had several attendants out sick, so our subs will be have to be very busy. And the recycling report, we had $10,220.49 come in January, 104.37 tons. Landfill disposal costs were $32,334.40 and 976.87 tons. Any questions?
I have one more. We were gonna redo, maybe this budget year, those compactors for the cardboard. These cardboard things are always full.
Right, yeah.
You don't get there on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. That's, they're always full, so
Yeah,
just don't forget that this year.
We're in the process of getting bids on the electrical. That's what's gonna be the most costly thing about putting them in. We've got all the old boxes, compactors that we took out. We've got enough to sit around at all of them, so that's what we're working on now, is getting costs for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments about solid waste? Made some major investments there.
Thank you for the compactor at Unionville. It's great.
We hope to,
Yeah, I think it's been a big difference there.
we believe we're gonna be able to do some improvements in the next budget year
Yeah.
for
Oh,
access.
that was- Rutherford County was very complimentary. I mean, even after you left, Chad, they kept bragging about, they stayed and watched mattresses and stuff go in, into the compactor and some furniture, and it went very well.
Any other comments for solid waste? Before moving on, human resources.
Yes, so you all received my report in your packet. Just one highlight on the actual status of new hires and the onboarding and the offboarding and all those things that are conducive to HR department. The new hires total 8, the resignations total 8. That's not an in and out specific to one department. So I just wanted to be clear, that's just the way the numbers fell for the month of January. So those were across the board with multiple departments. I have that information if you need it, but just wanted to point that out. Our job postings, we still have several different opportunities across the county. We were able to hire position for the front desk clerk for your building codes and planning department, as well as the deputy planning community development position for Chris. So Chris has 2 new hires that started within the past 2 weeks.
Still last one.
And he still likes one. I was prepared to take inspector off. We had offered, and then at the last minute, they changed their mind, and that does happen in this market, more so than I've seen in past years. Just part of it, so it was unfortunate, but we reposted and advertised, and I hope we'll be able to find someone to fill that position. So we've got 2 of the 3 in his department. We're moving forward with that. I continue to be busy on multiple different projects that are just specific to HR. I did participate in professional development specific to COVID and OSHA and grant opportunities. I do have a little bit of information, just just specific to what you were asking about, Sherry, off you last month at the meeting regarding job descriptions, ethics policy, all that. So I took relooked at reviewed the ethics policy that was provided, and so I am prepared to more or less just retype and submit that to commission within the next month, because I want to remove some unnecessary TCA language in there. So I'm gonna
In the ethics policy.
in the ethics
Yeah, it
policy.
needs to be. Yeah.
So I'm working on that right now. You'll see that in March at your, probably your March meeting.
Yeah, I've got it set, and we can remove it if we need to. I have it set to go to the commission in March,
Yes,
because it doesn't require action, but it requires that it be
No.
presented,
in the
so,
minutes.
into the minutes. So, if you want to defer it, or if you want to go through a committee and look at it, I'm
I
happy.
want to go on.
Yeah, so,
So it's gonna be an action item, not action item anymore, action item for me to present to you all to be a record of minutes. So that's handled, and then the, question in regards to job descriptions, roughly, give or take, we're a little over 400 employees full-time, part-time, 415-ish, you count elected officials. And so in comparison to job descriptions that I've prepared, we are at a 78%
yes.
right now. So I'm working as fast as my fingers will allow me to type,
That's
But-
more than we were
but that's
Yeah.
where
2
we're
years
at.
ago,
And
so.
I had the purchase order last week to get all the notebooks, because I envision for the human resources office, although I have electronic copies, I'd like to have a hard copy notebook for each department, from courts to animal control to whatnot. So when you walk in the HR office, you have a comprehensive notebook of all of the job descriptions specific to that department, and they're always there and they're readily available, and that every department director, every elected official has the same copy that I have. In regards to specific completion, the mayor administration, animal control, planning, EMS, maintenance, veterans, juvenile detention, ag center, most of the jail, highway, and solid waste are all complete. So,
Any comments, questions?
One question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I think we had talked, last year at some point about a comprehensive salary evaluation. I think we were looking at that as part of the whole process. And I know that COVID slowed that down. Can you kind of tell us, we are still moving on that?
yes, and the job description mechanism is the first component of that, and the county had partnered with MTSU a couple of years ago to start this project, and they did get it going, get it started, but because of COVID and state university emergency orders and things out of everybody's reach, that project stopped, because MTSU wasn't able to work on it until some of the things were lifted and the 15 people. And then we moved past that, and I was trying to pick up the remaining. So we're moving forward with it. It's in the works, and we're gonna complete this, and I would then have a conversation with finance and everybody to move forward.
And as we've identified particular disparities in the hiring process, or we have made those adjustments. So we've not been able to comprehensively get to the point where we can actually lay down what the salaries ought to be for the positions. As they do come up for review, we are trying to stop what we're doing and do the work on that one to try to get it closer to where it needs to be. On that very same note, this is a concern that I have, and I'm sure it's a concern that you guys will have with inflation at the rate that it's at currently. If we are not able to find some way to compensate somehow for that as well, all of the gains that we've had going forward, we're going to lose to inflation. And so we're going to be right back where we started. So there's going to be some hard decisions to be made. We're going to have to look close at what we've got and what we don't have, and do the best job we can to try to minimize the impact of that on the employee. If we don't, we will basically lose the ground we gained in regards to that. And everybody's battling that. That's not a Bedford issue. That's going to be across the system.
The job descriptions are crucial, and so my goal is, once I get the notebook, I'm gonna scan everything back again to the director or the elected official and let them look over it, because that's a key component, that you understand what the positions are, because you can't assess value if you've got the responsibility wrong. So,
One quick question, then, we have the job descriptions. Can you use that as comparative analysis to other counties, similar populations or whatnot, to evaluate?
yes, that will be a
Proper
key component. Like, all of them have to have the ADA language in it. Everybody needs to have the updated, needs to have all of it in there, because that is another reason, because it's a comparison.
Any other questions? Thank you for the report. Up next, our counties.
For the month of January, it's been the business as usual. We've had several visits, actually. They were increasing every week. We've had numerous out-of-state visits as the weather was permitting. But the records project that we're going on is still continuing with the hospital records and the sheriff's records, and identifying those things that we need to keep, and putting those in permanent shelving storage. With that, I'll tell you that the grant money that I got from the state was a nice sum, $2,700, but it only purchased half of the steel shelving I expected. I got in during January 13 units of steel shelving I've been getting from Lowe's, which is really good stuff. But it literally doubled from last January to this January. And so I did get 13 units, which is kind of interesting, and be able to get those up and added to the shelving and move on. We had ongoing quotes. Their facilities is helping with that. Rose has been reporting to me what they've been working on with that. And we did meet with the Public Records Commission to review RDAs and materials related to disposal and maintaining those permanent records we want to keep. We've had several interesting and helpful things about the square. We've had 3 or 4 interests in.
Find the tunnel?
I'm sorry.
Find the tunnel?
No tunnel yet. I run behind the construction guys and say, "What you found? What you found?" and they know me now. All of the guys inside know me, and all the guys outside look. I was like, "Go away! Now we don't want you to fall in our hole in the ground." Because I went over the other day where they're doing the electrical cabinet, and I looked in to see what was in there, and they just like, "Oh dear." But anyways, we've been doing a lot of really interesting reports and searches for people about the buildings on the square. And I even did. I thought I knew a lot about the history of Bedford County, but I had no idea how many fires affected the businesses on the square. And so it's a lot of interesting things related to that. Everybody knows the Gunter building on the west side of the square. This is a little trivia. Did you know that they literally had a business on every side of the square? At any given point, the Gunners were moving on with their business and improving all the time, and they literally had a business on every side of the square. Usually a saloon, but other than that.
So line man.
Yes.
That's right.
That's probably where it's.
Any questions? Any questions for our guys? Thank you for that. Architect, we'll let Robert just give you an overview. We haven't got far to go along, but really.
John Davis is in design as far as the community wing. Klein Sweeney is working with the schools on the new school. I don't think they're in design yet, but they are talking to me about, talking to schools about the
Programming right now.
program. And also they were meeting upstairs today about the renovation of the suite for the health department. And I think that's most of what we have going on right now.
And of course, the courthouse
Yeah,
renovation.
the courthouse is ongoing, so.
And the suite upstairs, the state of Tennessee is paying for that renovation work that they need for the health department to do primary care.
Will they be in the whole floor?
No, they're doing the old Vanderbilt suite on the end, and it's just part of their operation. They're going to maintain part of it where they're at.
They're the ones that have asked us because the health department is really supposed to be for the healthy and getting your shots and what have you, because they're doing primary care more and more. Sick, you don't want sick people in with new babies and those things, and so they've been asking if the opportunity ever arose. And so that's what this is going to allow them to do, is to not leave where they're currently at or the services they provide, but give the opportunity for primary care type situations to be actually here. So it would be separated from really what the health departments should be their primary mission. So I think that'd be a big help to them. Is there anything else, Dr. Garrett, about architect that you
The community should have groundbreaking community high school wing about end of June, 1st of July.
And it'll be completed
Next August, ready to move in next August.
23.
23, and then the new school the following year, 24.
Second floor of the annex, what's our thinkings on that?
What's currently in there? I know originally, before I was ever elected, that was, I thought that would be financed at one point or some point in regards to that. The funds that floor did not ultimately get redesigned, and the funds that were allocated for that wound up having to be used to buy elevator system and the actual boiler system. So the funds that were appropriated were used for the building, but it didn't wind up doing that floor. Now that floor is the floor where there was the common use conference room. That is where now our
Shane and
our-
Kelly are.
where the city and county are working together for the Shuttle Bedford Partnership.
Is there still room for Robert if we redo?
Not currently. You'd have to redo. And then also, we're sharing, or we're allowing some shared space with the city of Shelbyville regarding tourism down on the other. I mean, it's all on that floor, but there's just one little small 3-room suite, you might call it, that's not currently being used. And we're potentially having that as space for short-term, whether it be audit or somebody that we need to come in and just have space to be able to do things. That's sort of what that's looks like for the moment. So long-term, we may want to revisit the structure and where things are and how we would push things out. But currently, the funds that were set aside for it have had to be used. And
But they're still coming in.
yeah, but I'm just talking about what you originally allocated. I don't want to mislead that we didn't spend those funds on the annex, so they were.
Got that little building back there in the back, Robert.
Yeah.
Lori and all them could all jam into
Pull
it.
up, get you.
We can all be in one room.
And all be in one room.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, that'd be
Turn
it.
that down, it's gone.
That's right. Next is
Thanks, Linda.
our monthly reports. You wanna go on with that?
Okay, you have your monthly reports, and if you look at the analysis of tax collections, you will see that we were $1 billion ahead in total on property tax. Now, that may change next month, but people were paying before the end of the year. As far as prior year collections, we're 198,000 ahead, same time last year. Clerk and master collections, 20,000 less than the same time last year, and that's because people are paying the prior year taxes. And then sales tax collections are up 895,000 for the year, and versus last year. Now, I want to remind you, a lot of that goes to school debt. So it's not money that's coming into the county's budget for like operations. And the last page is Mark's mineral severance tax, and we are $500 less than the same time last year. So any questions about that part? And the next part is juvenile detention. We are projecting a loss of $157,000 at the end of this year. In traffic school, we're projecting a profit of $68,000 by the end of the year.
Now, let me ask you, we've been, as you know, there's juvenile committee studying, trying to figure out about juvenile services and what the expenses are. It come to my attention, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I realized or understood it, but part of what was explained was that part of the traffic school fund was specifically designated to help offset the cost of the juvenile detention. And is that number reflected in here?
Yes, that would be the jail fees.
Okay, what do we see?
What did you say?
Jail fees, 42, 450, account
Fine. When we're looking at juvenile detention, so, yeah, I'm looking at that, but, so where is all we collected was in August, $570 for housing other juveniles? See, that number don't
Oh,
seem anywhere.
that's fines, there's jail fees and fines. Okay, these are just fines that are tacked on, I guess, at circuit court.
Yeah, but so my understanding is there's supposed to be a separate dollar amount.
I think that's going into the line below, the jail fee.
Well, where we get paid by the state for housing, DHS and those. So we have, there's some thought that this number is maybe not exactly, doesn't maybe reflect
Oh,
one of
I
those
see what you're
amounts.
saying. Okay, the
Yeah.
jail fees include those out-of-county charges and billing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but what about I think it's $35 of every juvenile, or every driving school.
I think that would be in that same line. Now, that depends on, we need to ask the trustee on how they get that.
Yeah, it's in a separate line.
Yeah, we don't
about
see
that.
it.
Okay, because we don't, for some reason, it doesn't appear that number is in our model. If that's the case, there are some more dollars. It's not a whole lot of dollars, but there's some more dollars that might make that actual cost be a little bit less. We'll look at that and
Yeah, that's
clear it
right.
up next.
The courts have it set up in their software to break that out. And then they send a report to the trustee, and that's how the trustee records it. So it's based on the software of the courts.
Okay. And my understanding is Michelle Murray's people come to
That ought to come out of Michelle Murray's.
they go to the trustee's office and they have a piece of paper and they say, so many dollars is in this line, so many dollars this line, so many dollars in this line. There's 3 buckets. One goes to jail or juvenile services, one goes to juvenile detention, and one is the driving school difference. So is this driving school number, is that just strictly driving or traffic school, whatever they call it?
Yes, as far as I know, that's everything.
Okay,
is
wait a minute.
correct.
Yeah, there's where there's 3. Yeah, there's the 3 lines
Yes.
are showing up over here. So I think one of these lines, it may be this line right here, should be over here. If we'll study it.
Yeah,
But-
we can check and see.
Yeah, because there's a thought that that's not reflecting, they're not getting any value on the juvenile detention side for funds that were specifically supposed to go to help offset those costs. But if that number is, let's pretend it's $44,000, and then we'd be talking about that 157 being 111. Yeah.
So
So,
we need to look at.
yeah, so we'll, that's part of what the study group is doing and the due diligence that we're doing. And so I just tell you that to say, we're looking at every way to make sure that we're reflecting properly whatever the true costs are for when the time comes to make a decision about what we do with services going forward.
Okay, we'll need to look at the courts and see what they're right. Okay, the last part of the report, I've got an analysis of expenditures, and you'll see things in red that are above average, and the average is 58%. If there's something above, there's a couple that are above that, like above 100. We plan to do a budget amendment for those, so that will not be the way it ends as far as the year. And that will be in our next amendment. We normally try to do 3 amendments, and we have a cleanup amendment in May, so that will cover this item, or these items. So any questions?
Bill's eating himself.
Yes, fuel costs have gone up, and I've even asked Kenny at the bus garage if he could give us an estimate of gallons that are going to be used through the end of the year, so we can project something to do a budget amendment from, and it's probably going to affect Mark the same way, and a little bit on the county side.
And is everything, I mean, Brett may know this, is everything tapped out just in case, war-wise, we get into some computer chip that doesn't work, or tanks? full,
We don't have the ability to store fuel. That's unfortunate as a county. Now, I believe the highway department does have the ability to store some fuel, and I guess schools, at one time they did, I'm not sure if they do anymore or not.
They don't own the tanks.
Yeah, they don't own the tank.
Right, but are the tanks on their site?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
but the regular public safety agencies are relying on
they
a
still
third
use that
party.
service station down there with cars.
But we actually need, and I've talked to Mark about it today, actually, we need to look at buying our own fuel tanks. And that way we can be a little more competitive when we get these people. But when they own the tank, then if somebody else bids it, they gotta take that tank out, put their tank in.
Exactly.
It's hard to get a good bid for it.
Well, and just monitoring, so we know.
And in an emergency, right, whenever you're buying from the same pool everyone else is.
Exactly, that's what I'm worried about.
Okay, is there anything else on the report? Okay, EMS report.
You don't have the report, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. One thing I'll draw attention to is we're really amping up to get ready for our training. We're starting our youth academy for high school students. It'll be the whole month of April, 2 days a week. And then we're gonna do an EMT and AMT class, starting this summer as well. So that's really focusing on that, trying to draw some local employees hopefully.
Any other questions for EMS? I think we need a motion to approve the reports.
Motion to approve the reports.
Second.
All right, motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Next, EMS has some write-offs or collections.
So these just have to be presented, this is my cost collection center, not collectible, you'll see on there a lot of deceased or in bankruptcy, I think it's about $22,000. I believe it's just got the information.
So we need a motion to send it to the commission. Second.
Second.
All right, motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Moving on. Budget amendment number 2 for Board of Education.
Okay, you've got a budget amendment. If you look at page 1 of 32, you will see a summary of the items that were revenue. We had some STEM grants, we had refunds, we had a fitness grant, and we had some technology subsidies.
What is that Spartan Foundation Fitness?
I have no idea.
It was $1,000 grant. I forget who got it.
It's a BCLA grant.
Yes.
One of their
That's
teachers
right,
there-
I remember that.
Right,
yes.
a lot of grants.
And then on page 2, you will see, page 2 and 3, you'll see where it was actually moved into the budget. I'm sorry, page 2. And you'll see there's department transfers, anything with a 1 is just between the accounts. We had early childhood grant adjustments, STEM grants, refunds, and that's basically it in the schools. And all the detail is behind that.
Do you have anything to add to that, Dr. Garrett?
No.
You okay? Now, I think historically, what we've done is even if we think there may be a grant, we don't actually amend that in until we receive the grant, right? So from time to time, you'll see these things when we actually get them come in at that time versus I guess we used to project that we were going to get it, and then we budgeted, and then we didn't wind up with it, and we got a shortfall on the road revenue. So, okay. Any other questions or comments about education amendment? I need a motion to send it to the commission.
Move to approve, send to the commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next to the county.
Okay, the county amendment on page 1, you'll see what it consists of. We sold the old Harris Gym. We had some donations to animal control. Health Department had a grant adjustment. We had an awning grant for the Health Department. Department of Justice grant, Health Department phone system grant. We had some refunds. We had MCO funds, additional revenues. And we did take out of fund balance and reserves. We had some courthouse security funds that were used, archives funds that were used, and also some PSC2 funds, which is the animal control, and then the SSR funds. Now, on page 2 and 3, you'll see where it's expended in the budget. Now, if you go over to there's 52 pages of the general fund, go to the green copy, you will see the 128 fund. This is the department transfer only. The 128 is our ARP money that we had budgeted at the beginning of the year. We're going to have more adjustments out of that in the next amendment. but we had to show it there. The next one's highways. You'll see that he had some adjustments. We had department transfers. We had some money moved from fund balance, and then we had some refunds. The next section is the salmon color. And that is debt service, and we had to make some debt service adjustments, and this was due to the refinancing that we did. And then the last part is the 171 Capital Projects Fund. And we had a department transfer in it. And the blue copy is the school capital projects funds. We had a department transfer there also. And then the last one was the county capital projects funds, and we had a department transfer there. So it's just mainly moving between the lines on those capital projects.
Question, Mr. Mayor. On our debt service fund,
Yes.
you said the sales tax revenue is up, then does that excess over budget go into this debt service fund? Where does it?
Well, this is the budget, okay? We haven't recorded the actual amount yet. But when you get to the end of the year, you'll see the actual versus the budget.
Okay, got it.
So it's coming in every month as part of the actual.
Part of the actual revenue, but we will realize.
Again, the sales tax are restricted, or at least.
Yes, it is
But
restricted.
it goes into this for debt service only.
That's correct.
All right. Any other questions about the county amendments?
Make a motion to approve it to the county commission.
We need a second.
Second.
All right, motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Moving on. Next item is surplus from the Board of Education. I think the list might be right there for you to look at.
Got it. Final list.
I assume, my guess would be the school boards approve this, and this is sent it on just for the
That is
formality to the commission. All right. So we need a motion to send it to the commission.
Second.
All right, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have some from county general as well. Can I believe the list is in front of you?
Busy.
Yes, we're really proud of the improvements and efficiency we're seeing with this investment in this area.
Move to approve on
There's second, send it to the commission.
second.
All right, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then I put on your desk for you tonight, under other business, I need to add this resolution 2215. It's a resolution in support of the rural broadband grant application of United Communications. It just lays out what the grant is, but the key component of that is if that grant, if we were to get that grant, there's a $700,000 match that would come from our ARP funds, not from our tax base, but from the federal funds we receive. That's what the funds were originally sent to us through ARP, were for broadband, water, sewer. And so we think that's the right investment. We have those funds held out, but I need this document to go before the full body so that everybody can be clear what we would do if we're granted that grant for broadband. And I believe this grant is estimated to bring in over 1,000 households.
Oh, no, almost 2,000, almost 2,500 households.
Households?
When, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
So, Mayor, Mr. Smith, myself have worked with United on this, and everyone will recall, back in the spring, we had almost 3,000, 2,000 people that received access to fiber-based broadband. This is a second round of grants that we're having. The mayor has taken the leadership role on this, and we've worked with United, and this is a sizable impact we're going to have. It may be as many as 2,500 to 3,500 people are going to have access to high-speed fiber broadband here in the next, I think they're opening the bids on March 15th, and they'll start work once they unveil the bids at June 15th, whether we get them or not. So this is a big lift for the county, and thanks to the leadership we've had, it'll be almost 5,000 people last year and this year have access to high-speed broadband. And that's one of the things we've committed to doing, and I think it's important for the county. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for working with us on that and getting it done for all of us on the commission and for you too.
Now, I believe this round of grant, United Communication is brought into their proposal every area in the county that the state and federal identify as not having access. Correct. Now, it's not everywhere in the county, but it will be scattered all over the county. And even some of the areas that are, that would be affected are really in the edge of the county. And what's interesting about that is, one, there'd probably be long time before we could ever just get service out there to them. But what we're hearing from United is, if we can make these investments with these federal and state dollars, it will be easier for them to come back toward town with the service if they've got something, versus they just constantly trying to go out further, which makes sense. So we believe that it would accelerate future continued build out beyond what this investment would make. So it makes a lot of sense for us to do it. Again, the return on our dollar here is unbelievable. And again, the 700,000 we're asking you to commit is part of the ARP funds. And so it's not part of the basic.
We're having a virtual school now, we've got to be invested in.
Absolutely. So we need a motion to send this to the commission.
Make a motion. Yeah.
Second.
All right, motion is second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Any other business that I overlooked or that somebody needs to add?
Yeah, I wanted to just give an update on the Union Ridge water project that we, as a county, started collaborating with the town of Ward Trace Utility Department back in early part of 2019. I've laid on your desk in front of you a copy of the report. And I'll just read it through real quickly, and then if you have any questions, we can discuss it. At the end of 2019, Bedford County and the town of Ward Trace entered into a cooperative agreement to provide water service to Union Ridge area of Bedford County. Many people in this area have contaminated water or no water at all and have to haul in their drinking water. This agreement called for Ward Trace to apply for a CDBG to run a water line from its terminal point on Red Hill Road up Lazy Branch Road to Union Ridge. Bedford County applied for a CDBG to build a 100,000-gallon water storage tank on Union Ridge. In this agreement, the town of Ward Trace would make the required match for both grants. Lori Fisher of South Central Development District prepared the grant application, with Robert Stegall serving as engineer for the project. The application was filed in the spring of 2021. The CDBG application was approved September 2021. Ward Trace received $625,000 for the water line construction. Bedford County received $404,100 for construction of a water storage tank. Bids for this project were open November the 20th, 2021. The low bid for the water line extension was $893,857. This bid was over the $625,000 grant allocation by $268,857. Ward Trace does have $201,000 in ARP monies that can be used, but they're still short about $67,857. The low bid for the 100,000-gallon storage tank was $778,900. This bid was $374,800 over the $404,100 grant allocation. Both bids were higher than expected, primarily because of the increase in cost of steel, just like shelving. There is not any clear recourse for reducing the cost of the water line extension. As for the storage tank, the project engineer redesigned the storage tank from a 100,000 ground level tank to a 50,000-gallon elevated tank. He is hopeful this redesign will generate lower bids. And it's also hopeful because of just the people he knows that bids on these projects, that he'll get more bids and they'll be more competitive. There was only one person that bid on the ground level tank. This redesign was approved January the 4th, 2022 by the Director of Office of Economic and Community Development. New bids will be open March the 10th, 2022. The water storage tank is a critical part of the project. Without the tank, a maximum of 50 customers can be served. With the 50,000-gallon tank, up to 300 customers can be served. Right now, with the grant application, the people that were needing water, that were the basis for the application, that's going to maximize who has water. I mean, the people that apply applied for it or were a part of the application, they're gonna get water, but there's not gonna be a capacity to extend it to anybody else beyond those about 50 families.
It was a tremendous ask in that area beyond just
Yes,
what we targeted.
that's
So
right.
the
So
bill-
to have the tank is really critical if that can be done. At this time, it is my understanding that money from the state infrastructure investment plan can be used for water system expansion, cannot be used for water system expansion. It can only be used to rehab water systems. If this is the case, I'm hopeful that after March 10th, the water storage tank bids are open. The county can explore ways to help fund this project using our ARP funds, even if it means postponing the construction of the water storage tank. This collaboration between Ward Trace and the county will hopefully bring clean drinking water to a distressed area of the county. Now, you know, it's really frustrating to think the state got something like $3.75 billion for water infrastructure project. A billion of that was allocated in our granting project or funding area to do water line projects. And here these people are desperate for water and we don't have access to tap it. The American Rescue Fund, we have some, it is certainly proper for us to collaborate with Ward Trace Utility District to kind of help out. There may be some other ideas floating along that I've discussed before at Fisher and the engineer. One is as a stopgap, maybe to put pumping stations there instead of the water storage tank. If it comes that the water storage tank is going to be out of reach, that will at least give some relief. If we did that, we might even go back from a county side and try to renegotiate with Department of Economic Development to use that money, that $400,000 that we've already got to do pumping stations, that sort of thing. But there's a big difference in a pumping station and a water storage tank. Pumping stations maybe $30,000, $40,000, as opposed to hundreds of thousands for water storage tank. But it's not a good solution, not the best solution, but it is possible. So I just want to make you all aware of what was going on there and the critical need that there is in that part of the county. And hopefully when the bids come in, we'll be in good shape, but I'm not totally optimistic yet. So,
Don has worked on this as the mayor of Ward Trace, trying to get water up there, and I know all the mayors before me have been a part of trying to find CBDG grants to do that. And Don really, along with Lori Fisher, come to me and had a concept that let's try to do 2 grants, because what's happened is the cost was always more than what the max of the grant was. And so we split the project up. They did a lot of work on this, and by God's grace, the state of Tennessee did in fact grant Ward Trace's application for the lines and the work he's talking about. And then the separate piece to be bid and granted was the water tank that the county filed to do, understanding that Ward Trace was expecting to pay the match. So there was no dollar amount, but it was a collaboration between the county and Ward Trace to get it done. And these folks for over 20 years have not had the water. Their groundwater is not correct there. And they have times when they don't even have water, it dries up. And that just really shouldn't be in the world we live today. And so we were able to pull these together. We were excited. Inflation hit, COVID, all these things that drove up cost. And now, as you hear him say, the prices are almost out of reach. They're trying to recouple some things. I talked with him on the side months ago when they came in too high, and said, if there's some way for us to scrape a little bit from our ARP funds, if we can have some left over, that I wouldn't be opposed to bringing that before the commission, asking them to potentially assist them. They're so close to getting water and they've never been able to get it. If we let this opportunity pass, I don't know how there would be a path to achieve this going forward.
Yeah, I just amen to that. This is kind of like our last ditch effort to get water up in that area. So hopefully things will work out. I know those people are desperate for water, to get good, clean drinking water. And and people beyond this immediate grant application. And the county county applying for the tank, I think, was the icing on the cake that really put the project over in terms of the CDBG approving it, because the water storage tank does not only benefit those people immediately there, but it's an enhancement on the overall system, which means the cost of the project per person goes down when you look at the whole system.
And the fact that you could add people in the
That's
future
right,
up in that area.
and that's right.
And there are already people asking for it, but the people that had to be a part of this grant had to be below poverty, or there was some.
Low, moderate income.
Right, and so there were people, many more people wanted to be in on it and submit, but they weren't allowed to. And so again, the vision was, let's do this correctly, and it gives resources for future out there.
Because the simple fact of the matter is, without grant to facilitate a project like that, it's impossible for a utility district to do it. It's just not cost effective. They just can't do it.
How much ARP money do they need?
Well, we don't know. The March the 10th is when we'll reopen the bids for the redesigned storage tank.
See what the difference is.
And we'll see what falls out then.
Well, the longer we put this off, the higher the cost is gonna be.
Unfortunately,
Exactly right.
that's right.
That's why I really think that once we know what we know, we need to dig deep to see. They're so close, and they've never been this close. Is that correct?
That's
To
correct.
get
And not
this
even,
done.
a mile from that, it's close. It's done.
And you was only off $67,000 and some change,
Right.
basically of having what you.
Well, that was
They
for
run
the
the water
line.
line.
That's for the water lines. The tank is like 350,000 over.
Oh, okay.
And so, but they're rebidding and they redesigned the tank to be a little bit smaller setup, hoping that the price will come
Yeah,
down
it's
some.
a bit elevated,
So-
they won't use as much steel.
And I thought early on that if they were within $100,000, that surely we could scrape that within our ARP funds. But when you start talking about 300,000, that's a lot tighter, because unfortunately, every project that we've identified to be associated with ARP funds and not associated with ARP funds are coming in 30-40% over, as you're gonna see with building, just like we had that same problem with the courthouse renovation. So it's not unique to War Trace, but they're at a critical component and time there that we need to search in dig deep to figure out how to help them get over this hump.
I appreciate, Mayor, all that you've done to help get this project moving along.
It took everybody, y'all figured it out, but brought it to us and it makes sense. So is there any other thing to come before, any
I have
announcements?
one question to Dr. Garrett. Thank you for the leadership you're showing, and we're really seeing some improvement in school. Tell us a little bit about the magnet school. I think we had some discussions on that at the last school board meeting.
Yes.
Where are we on that?
We are expanding the magnet program. I've heard from many parents, I've heard from economic development that they consider that a great thing when CEOs and things come, business owners come into our community. So next year we will offer 6th grade there, and hopefully the year after 7th, and then the year after 8th.
Now, the governor this Thursday, he has some BDP funding for the new plan. What are you looking for? What do you hope? What are you trying to see that could really help us down here from that plan?
Well, the factors of the weighting we will have, English as a second language, if we are able to get more money for that, that will really help us. Being a large geographic county because of transportation costs, that will help us. Also, one of the big things, if his state funding formula passes this year, there will be $1 million that will go to each of our area high schools, specifically to improve our career and technical education. If that money, if the funding bill is not passed, we won't get that money. So we are very hopeful in that. We are looking to see what classes that we have. Do we have any that are outdated in career and technical? And what do our area businesses need? So that will really help us in career coaches. A lot of high schools are doing career coaches. That money could be utilized for that. We're very excited to, one of the things we'd like to offer, $1 million would help us go a long way, aerospace. A lot of, weather predicting is big in aerospace, actual flight, and then the mechanics. So we would like to offer 3 different elements of aerospace. So hopefully we can do that.
Are any of our schools in floodplain?
No, I was hoping, there were some I wanted to drag over. So we are not. There were 14 across the state. We were not one of them.
Thank you, Dr. Hughes.
Will this, addition stay at Thomas, or you be moving to school with your, educational
The The magnet program
Magnet
will
program.
be, yes, it is our intent that it would be K-8 at Thomas.
Okay.
When we get to the 8, we may have to expand on to the school, but right now, I think we can make it 6, possibly 7. By the time we get to 8, we'll probably need to expand on.
Very good.
All right. Is there any other comments or questions? Thank you for that. We appreciate it. Are we ready to adjourn? Thank you.